The Berlin Christmas market, struck by a deadly truck attack on Monday, has now reopened for business, and it is crowded. Fox has confirmed that 2 Americans were injured in that assault. One of those people is still recovering in the hospital. Reports are surfacing that fingerprints from the suspect were found on the door of the vehicle following the tragedy. Tunisian 24-year-old Anis Amri also reportedly had offered himself up as a suicide bomber prior to the attack. German authorities say Amri previously showed up on their radar when he was looking to buy a gun. Officials also say an informant told police that on several occasions, Amri talked about committing attacks on Germany. U.S. authorities had even placed him on the no-fly list. The manhunt for Anis Amri continues.
This guy should not have been on the loose. Here now, Sebastian Gorka, Threat Knowledge Group chairman and author of Defeating Jihad. Dr. Gorka, it's extraordinary when you read this guy's history. He settled in Italy about 7 years ago. He was an illegal immigrant, by the way, when he settled in Italy. He then burnt down a schoolhouse for which he spent 4 years in jail before he went to Germany in July of 2015. And then Lauren was just saying what he did while he was in Germany. Despite all of that, his history in Italy, what he'd been doing in Germany, consorting with known terrorists, etc., he was roaming around free. Why?
Why? Because the politicians of Europe have lost the plot. They are disconnected from reality. It's very easy to, wag your finger at the local police. This isn't the police. I've looked into this. I've talked to people in Germany. This is about political decisions, about policy in Berlin. Yeah. The police knew he was a bad guy. He was on their radar screen. He was arrested. He was detained. But the policies meant that this man had to be let free. And think of how absurd this is. They wanted to deport him, but when Tunisia says, we don't want him back, the German government says, well, okay, then let him go.
They threw up their hands. There was nothing to do. And, Dr. Gorka, the other thing is it reminds me of the cases of the Parisian terrorists, the ones who the Paris authorities couldn't catch them. Then they went over to Belgium and were roaming around in clear sight of a lot of people there who were interviewed later on. There seems to be this political correctness throughout all of Europe.
David, it's insane. So the political correctness is costing people lives. The ISIS propaganda in English has stated for months now, we are going to use the refugee streams, we're going to use the mass migration. There were people with asylum status, EU asylum status, responsible for terrorism attacks. In America, of the 580 people we've convicted of terrorism since 9/11, half of them were not born here. 24 of them were asylees, and 3 were here illegally and outstayed their visas. This is just the facts of the matter.
We have to say, this is the kind of globalism, the globalist mentality that President Obama wanted to bring to the United States. He painted Angela Merkel as a hero in terms of how she was dealing with the refugees. Thank God it hasn't gone further than it has gone here. But I want to move on to something else, because there's the president-elect has tweeted out the following quote: "The United States must greatly strengthen and expand its nuclear capability until such time as the world comes to its senses regarding nukes." Now, the left is going crazy about this tweet, suggesting, that he's a nuclear cowboy, he's got his finger on the red button, etc. However, I remember Ronald Reagan doing some things with regard to our nuclear capability that led the Soviet Union to its knees and to its ultimate demise. I think he's looking to Iran and North Korea and saying, you try to mess with us and you're going to be history. You're going to be dust.
Absolutely right. Reagan, look at the catchphrase that President-elect Trump is using. Peace through strength. That's complete Reagan. Reagan was horrified by the prospect of nuclear war. He tried to ban all nuclear weapons, but Gorbachev refused. So he understood what? The ultimate deterrent is the capacity to strike back. And this is what the president-elect today is messaging. It's not global warming that is the primary threat to America like President Obama or Secretary Kerry believes. It is nuclear weapons in the hands of people like the mullahs in Iran. And the ultimate deterrent is our nuclear capability.
Well, let's hope they're smart enough to hear the message, because if they don't get it, it's their demise. Dr. Gorka, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.